Hi there, I'm Chris-Rachel with the Austin Post.
And I'm Gavin Stone with Fanboy TV, and we're here with the fabulous Elise from Los Wild Ones.
Hi. You got it in stereo that time.
No, that was awesome. We don't often do things in stereo here. So let's tell the audience really quick, what is Los Wild Ones?
It's a film about a very unusual family. It's a record label based in California that is made up of mostly like young Hispanic musicians that play 1950s rock and roll, like R&B and soul. And it's run by an Irishman named Reb Kennedy, who's very much like a father figure to all these kids, and he does everything himself on the label. It's completely run by him.
Wow.
One
so you
man
got like
show.
an Irish guy running something for a bunch of Hispanic kids that are doing rockabilly?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, that sounds really odd. How did you find them?
I was looking for music for a narrative that I was developing, and I wanted like 1950s rock and roll, and I wanted it to be like music that I felt was really honest and raw and powerful, the way that rock and roll was when it first started, like, you know, being played in the 50s before it was sort of popularized. And I was listening to music, doing research, and I heard 3 songs that just gave me chills, and they were all on the same record label.
From Los Wild Ones?
Right. And it's Wild Records. And I looked up the record label, and I contacted Reb, and I asked him if he'd be willing to meet with me to discuss, you know, possibly working together. And he said, sure. And as soon as I got over there and I met him and I saw his relationship with the band members and people that were on the label, I was like, this is a family. Like, this is not just a record label. And it was continually proven over and over again. They're just like, they do things for each other that families do for each other. And they're so supportive. There's no like weird competition between anybody. They go to each other's shows. They sing each other's songs. And they're
That's
just
amazing, because I mean the RIA has kind of ruined music for a lot of people, and to hear about an actual record label where things are going well and everyone likes one another it's remarkable.
It is. And so one day I said to him, you know, he invited me to dinner to his house with his wife and his son Hayden, and I said, someone really needs to document this. And he said, okay. And I was like, oh, yes, I'm a filmmaker.
I guess that's
Hey, I could do it.
And so we started to talk about, you know, what it would be like. And I had other projects, and I was like, you know, let me think about it. I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. And I asked for a week. And I woke up the next morning and I called him. I said, I want to do it.
So how long did it actually take to make? Because you said you allegedly had a week, but the next morning you made the decision.
Yeah.
But you've got a lot of footage in this.
Yes. And I feel like I should mention the editor, Ryan Brown, here. We had 35.
Yay, Ryan Brown.
Hey!
We had 3,500 hours of footage.
That's a lot of footage.
Wow.
I felt like the label they're growing exponentially, and the music is becoming more and more popular, and they have a lot of fans in Europe, and the label's growing fast, and I knew that if I wanted to find the story that I was looking for, that I needed to film quickly in order to get sort of like arcs of the business of the label, but also the musicians on it. So we filmed for 5 months, 5 to 6 days a week.
Wow.
And always had 2 cameras, sometimes had 4. We had
How did you fund that?
footage. You know, we had Jessica Golden got involved in the project early on, and one of the producers, and we had to make a very serious schedule and budget that we took to investors, and you know, we had to get started kind of right away.
Yeah.
So it was fast.
As you went into the Los Wild Ones, you know, how are they growing when you have this conglomerate of record labels that everyone wants to go get signed at these big labels? Here you have this little family one, and that's not what people think of music. How are they still going?
I would not have even thought of that as a record label, just because of the what we think of as being a record label these days.
Right. This is why, I think this is exceptional. It's Reb and the family that he's created. They're extraordinarily talented, and they're all really humble too. And when you go to hear them play, I get chills every time. They're just amazing performers, and they're seriously gifted. But they stay with Los Wild Ones, or they stay with Wild Records because they're like a family. This is where they belong, and I don't think that they have any desire to go anywhere else. You know?
I think they'd honestly get a better deal staying with Wild Records than going to someone with like the RIAA, because things don't go well with that.
I don't know. I mean, I think for good reasons, and you know, maybe to a fault, like this label is run just purely by love. And so the business of it it is a business. Wild Records is a record label, but it is run like by love for a family, for the community of it, for the companionship that they get and the support that they get from each other. And I think that always comes first in whatever decisions that they're making and whatever decisions Reb makes. He cares a great deal about his artists, and he's involved in their personal lives as well as like the business of it.
Do they have any non-rock rockabilly? I can't want to say hillbilly music.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Rockabilly.
Do they have like a whole variety, or is it pretty much like a genre label?
Well, it's weird because, in rockabilly, there are sort of like sub-genres.
totally.
But, no, it's not just rockabilly. I mean, there's like a lot of 60s garage. There's R&B. There's soul. There's stuff that Reb qualifies just as rock and roll. And they're not just, 50s rockabilly. And I think it's also growing. Like when I started the documentary, he had 18 bands signed, and now it's over 20. So they're still growing.
How long have they been around? Because for 18 bands, it doesn't sound like a lot.
2001, 18 bands is a lot when there's one person running the label. Reb does not sleep.
Oh, welcome to the club. Yeah.
But and they travel. The special thing also about this being an independent record label that's run by Reb is that he gets these people to Europe. I mean, the bands have like played in Germany and France and Australia, and they have lots of fans. Spain, tons of fans.
Do they have more
there.
of an international following than domestic?
I think not, maybe in numbers, I think a little bit more, but I think it's like their popularity over there is more about the music and less about a scene than it is in the United States from what I've seen. That it's more people genuinely care about the quality of the music and they go to that record label
That's
to
a
buy.
really nice change.
Yeah.
We get disposable music. I work at a country music station. I've never listened to country music until then, and I realized I like that music because it's timeless and it's good. It's not, this will be gone next week, something else will be in this place, sounds the exact same. That ever rotation, and I think we're spoiled over here with a bunch of idiots that like to make music and be money. Oh, look, we got all this money, and that's what people see. They don't really see the heart and soul in music. And from watching this film, there's a heart and soul that people don't really know about.
Right. I'm so glad you said that. That's like exactly what I wanted to come across in the film. That like there's something about what you hear in this, and Reb speaks to it in the film. I don't want to give anything away, but because we haven't premiered yet, but when he talks about the way that they record music and what he wants to get out of the production of it, that it is all about the heart and soul. So I'm really glad you said that.
There are so many illusions around what goes into producing a record. I mean, there's this whole idea, especially here in Austin, where we've got such a wonderful music culture, that you just get signed and then they will take care of everything, and that's really not how it works at all. What do you think for musicians that are first looking for a label or looking for some sort of home is the most surprising thing about actually getting signed?
Oh, I know very little about the music industry.
You're like me. We're just like, yeah, we
I know
we're
about
like,
this
okay.
one group, so, which is fine.
Yeah,
which is
no.
fine.
I know very little about the music industry, but what I've seen about the way that Reb runs the label and what he does that I think works, that I think that they find it attractive, and what they would now have expectations about if they were ever to work in other areas in the music industry is that he cares about them personally as well as professionally. So, and he feels, I think that, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he feels that those two worlds are just intertwined, and he wants everyone to be happy and enjoy themselves, and he also wants them to be professional, so.
Are many of the bands able to actually make a living off of being musicians?
They make money. I wouldn't say a living. They work really hard, and they all have day jobs, which is something else that I speak to in the film and that they speak to, but
That's
play,
not a criticism of him.
Yes.
Most bands actually do have day jobs.
It's hard, and they all have day jobs. They play tirelessly and they tour tirelessly, and they do this for the love of it. They're not rich. They're not able to buy homes or support themselves. I hope one day that they are able to do that.
So, just out of curiosity, do you think any of those bands are playing at South by Southwest this week?
They wanted to. They're not, and it was short notice. So. And it also, money, finances, it's hard. We're from LA, so it's a long trip.
It's a hike to get out here.
Plus, LA is expensive.
Well, thank you so much for making it out. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
People take a look at the documentary. It looks fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a great South by Southwest and keep up the good work.
Thank you.